Deep within the redwood forest, hidden amongst the towering trees, stood a dilapidated cabin. Its wooden walls were rotting, consumed by moss and decay. Vines, like grasping claws, choked the porch. Broken windows stared out like vacant eyes. The roof sagged, threatening to cave in on itself. This was no ordinary cabin. This was a place of whispers and shadows, where the air hung heavy with dread. The forest surrounding the cabin was just as unsettling. Twisted branches clawed at the sky. The wind howled through the trees, sounding like mournful cries. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy, casting long, eerie shadows on the forest floor. It was said that no bird dared to sing near the cabin, and no animal dared to approach. The cabin and the woods held their breath, shrouded in an unnatural silence. They were waiting for the darkness to deepen, waiting for the unsuspecting souls who dared to trespass on their haunted ground. Locals whispered tales of the cabin and its previous occupant, a solitary old man named Jedediah Withers. They said he lived there alone, shunning human contact. Some whispered of strange lights emanating from the cabin at night, accompanied by chanting in an unknown language. Old Man Withers, they said, was a practitioner of dark arts, dabbling in things man was not meant to know. It was rumored that he had vanished without a trace, leaving behind an unsettling silence and a lingering sense of evil. Some whispered that he hadn't left at all, that his malevolent spirit still haunted the cabin and the woods, waiting to ensnare new victims. Whether the stories were true or mere folklore, no one dared to find out. The legend of Old Man Withers served as a warning, keeping people far away from the haunted cabin. But legends have a way of attracting those who seek thrills, those who scoff at the unknown. And it was only a matter of time before a group of foolish teenagers decided to test the legend for themselves. It started, as these things often do, with a dare. A group of friends, bored and restless on a Friday night, decided to venture into the depths of Redwood Forest. There was Jake, the athletic one, always up for a challenge. Emily, the skeptic, trying to mask her fear with bravado. Ben, the quiet one, observant and cautious. And finally there was Chloe, the adventurous one, eager to prove her bravery. They had all heard the stories, of course. Who hadn't? The legend of Old Man Withers was practically a rite of passage in their small town. But they were teenagers, invincible in their own minds, dismissing the stories as mere folklore. As they drove deeper into the forest, the darkness seemed to press in on them, the air growing thick with anticipation and dread. Finally, they arrived at the edge of the woods, the headlights of their car illuminating the dilapidated cabin in the distance. The sight sent shivers down their spines, but there was no turning back now, not with their reputations on the line, not with the dare hanging in the air. A heavy silence hung over the clearing as they stepped out of the car. The forest held its breath, watching, waiting. They could hear their own heartbeats in the stillness, each one a drumbeat of apprehension. They made their way towards the cabin, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The closer they got, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The air grew colder, sending chills down their spines. The sweet smell of pine was replaced by the musty odor of decay. The silence was broken only by the sound of their own footsteps and the frantic pounding of their hearts. They reached the porch, its wooden planks creaking ominously under their weight. The door hung precariously from its hinges, a testament to years of neglect and decay.
All right, here we go.
Jake, ever the brave one, pushed the door open and they stepped inside. The interior of the cabin was cloaked in darkness, the air thick with dust and the lingering scent of mildew. Cobwebs hung from every corner and the floor was littered with debris. The only light came from their flashlights, their beams dancing across the dilapidated furniture and peeling wallpaper. They moved cautiously through the main room, their footsteps echoing in the stillness.
The floorboards are groaning under our weight, like they're protesting our presence.
Every creak and groan of the old cabin sent shivers down their spines, their imaginations running wild in the darkness.
I swear I saw something move in the shadows, but when I shone my flashlight on the spot, there was nothing there. Just the shadows playing tricks on me, I guess.
Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she tried to convince herself it was just her imagination. They decided to explore the rest of the cabin, their curiosity outweighing their fear. There were 2 bedrooms, both small and cramped, with peeling wallpaper and dusty furniture. The windows were boarded up, plunging the rooms into an oppressive darkness.
Look at that rocking chair. It's swaying back and forth, but there's no wind.
As they turned to leave the room, Chloe gasped.
There, staring at us from the boarded-up window. A face. A withered skeletal face with piercing blue eyes.
The face was gone in a flash, leaving them staring at the boarded-up window in horror. They stumbled back in terror, their blood running cold. There was someone, or something outside. They could feel its presence, cold and menacing, watching them from the darkness.
It's blocked! A heavy piece of furniture has been pushed against it. Panic seized them. They had to get out of there. They scrambled back through the main room, their flashlights casting frantic shadows on the walls. But as they reached the front door, they found it blocked.
We have to find another way out. Suddenly they heard a noise coming from the far end of the cabin. It was a low, guttural growl filled with menace and rage. They were trapped, with no way out, and something evil was closing in.
They pounded on the door, their cries for help swallowed by the thick walls of the cabin. They were trapped, at the mercy of whatever lurked in the darkness. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the growling stopped. Silence descended upon the cabin once more, heavier and more ominous than before. They huddled together in the darkness, too terrified to move, too terrified to breathe. Time seemed to stand still as they waited for what felt like an eternity. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, dawn began to break. Pale light crept through the cracks in the boarded-up windows, casting long shadows across the dusty floor. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the darkness, they knew they had to escape. With renewed determination, they managed to push the heavy furniture away from the door and stumbled out into the cold morning air. They didn't stop running until they reached the edge of the woods, their lungs burning, their legs aching. They didn't dare look back, but they could feel the presence of the cabin behind them, watching them, waiting. They had escaped with their lives, but they knew that what they had experienced that night would stay with them forever. The cabin stood silent once more, shrouded in the morning mist, its secrets kept safe within its decaying walls. The evil that haunted the cabin remained, waiting for the next unsuspecting souls to cross its path. The legend of Old Man Withers lived on, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed.